Hey, folks!
Oh,
Welcome to the day in the life of a technical program manager. Yes, Omer and I are already laughing before we even went live. Great to see you, CEO of the
hey,
Technical Program Management Institute, sir. How you doing?
hey, David, good to see you. Good to see you. How's everything?
I'm doing very well, so I'm excited to have you again. And certainly, you're going to be doing a web seminar next week as well. You can go to the TPMI website and see that.
Love
But
it.
we are talking about a day in the life of a technical program manager. But let's start out before we get into day in the life. It starts at 6 a.m. from what you told me, which I was like, wow. What is a technical program manager again? So folks who are just learning about this can hear a little bit more about what a technical program manager is.
Yeah, David, and I love the fact that you always want us to start in that, breadth, just specificity of what the role itself is. I mean, it's still a fairly new role, right? Like, what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 3, 4 years old before we've started seeing it mainstream. It's really a cross point or an intersection between being an agilist. So you have that whole agile component, right? So if you've been a scrum master and agile coach in the past, you're set up for, first checkbox. Then you have the traditional project or program management element of it. So it's an intersection between these two.
Mm-hmm.
But really the differentiating factor for us, David, and you know this at the TPM Institute, we preach what we practice,
Yep.
is all about upskillment and technical proficiency, right? The intersection between being a technologist, a project or program manager, and an agilist at heart is kind of what blends together to create a technical program manager. Um, it's incredible what we're seeing in the industry right
Oh
now.
my gosh.
It's massive. With the whole trend started back like 5, 6 years ago with the West Coast tech
Yep.
companies, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Apples moving in this direction. And I kid you not, yesterday I got a phone call from one of the largest banks in the country asking us, hey, as part of the institute, do you have some good technical program managers who've gone through your curriculum? We would love to screen some folks. Tell us what you're seeing in the industry. So we're really blessed to be, in that position where we can field such conversations. But that's kind of the role, right? And it's very different than what we've seen in the past.
And
So
I'm excited because there's a lot of struggle out there with regard to where am I going to take my career? How's AI going to affect my career? This agile thing is starting to get disrupted significantly. Where do I put myself? And TPM is a phenomenal career to walk into given where the marketplace is going. So now that folks know what a TPM is, technical program manager is, let's do this. Let's talk about. I'm going to walk in. Do you want to start out by talking about it from a financial company perspective, manufacturing, or just regular company? So
so let's talk through it, right? So the
yeah.
way I was thinking about the conversation, by the way, fantastic topic. Like, I love that you picked this. This is probably one of the best topics that you and I have had a chance to speak
Wow.
about.
Thank you very much. That's great. Go
Love it.
for it, then, my friend. Go for it.
So let's think about this, right? So, and when you kind of asked, let's talk about this for our audience, I was thinking like, how do you walk somebody through a typical day? Because almost always 2 days are so different from each other.
Mhm.
But I'll share some scenarios. I'll play along. I'll talk about some composite patterns that you will see and
Great.
what I've seen play out again over and over in different companies across fintech, across health tech, across energy. Not going to name drop any of the customers or clients, but the dynamics are real. And I think for those of us who've been in this role or in a similar capacity, this will resonate a ton, right? And here's how it really starts, right? So depending on what time you start, what client you're with, or what engagement you're on, most people tend to think a TPM's role is, hey, let's go update a Gantt chart or update our Jira board or the Azure DevOps storyboard, right? But the truth is that by 9:15 in the morning, it's like one line of config change can have so many repercussions downstream because it can quietly become an integrations problem, a compliance issue. It could be something that delays a launch by 6 weeks. And that's where this role of a technical program manager becomes so critical. So I'll start off with this, right? And this just happened to me last week for one of
Okay.
our
Good.
accounts that we support. This is a
Excellent.
very interesting one. It's a very timely thing, as a matter of fact, right? So I tended to join a conversation where the team comes in the morning stand up. I think it's like 8:15. You come in the morning and one of the team stand up, the team rolls out, they describe, hey, we are on track to go ahead and implement a simple feature flag as part of our payment processing. And it's a new payment method that allows a subset of users, just a very small subset of users, limit the blast radius, as they call it, a good low risk deployment pattern that we teach as part of the TPM course as well. Hey, we're going to enable this new payment method for a small set of users. Great. Now, it's a 2-day job. The engineer comes in, says, yeah, it should be done over the weekend. We should deploy it. And this is where the TPM instinct kicks in, right? And this is where the TPM is so different. TPM instinct kicks in, and the question the TPM on the call asked was, hey, does this new payment mechanism or this new payment flow touch how we store or transmit cardholder data? And that's it. And then there is like a sequence of pause, and you could hear the silence. And about 15, 20 seconds later, it turns out the answer is, oh, yes, slightly. Now, that
Mm.
slightly is
That,
just enough for you
uh,
to be able to say, am I now in compliance with PCI? Or how do I need to go ahead and navigate that with our compliance team? Because that's a 3-week lead time to get on their calendar so that they can review the new flow that you're getting in, so that they can think through what are the different risk parameters that might be at play here. Now, this is a classic case of this is not something that the engineers missed this. That's not the outcome, or that's not the lessons. They're
yeah.
brilliant. The engineers, I'm not kidding, the
It's
team
what
that
you think. It's what you're thinking about. I do want to take one step back, though. This is really interesting. So the day in the life is going to start off with a stand up. So the reality is, there's certain agile practices or agile ceremonies that are still out there, right?
That's it. That's it, David. And I love the fact that you bring this up again too, right? Remember what we were just talking about, like the intersection of a program or project manager, a technologist, and that third vertex as part of this, the triangle of success, as we look at it from the institute perspective, is being agile, right? So
Yep.
there's a ton of good practices, and we get asked this question so often, right? Like, hey, I've been a scrum master, I've been fairly successful. Can I be a strong TPM? Yeah, the answer is you have one vertex covered if you're doing that well. The question is, like, have you upskilled yourself? Are you ready for the other two? Exactly, right? So we do tend to start quite frequently, David, in our teams with a stand-up.
Yep.
They're a little different in the sense that I've seen teams, David, where in traditional Agile and traditional Scrum, some folks have come back and said, "Oh, your stand-ups are too long. It's an anti-Scrum pattern." As you evolve a little bit more in your TPM role, you're less a clock machine. You're not timing someone to say, "Hey, David, why did you take 17 minutes today?" That's not the
Yeah.
intention. So it has evolved a little bit more. And really the idea for a TPM in a stand is, or a DSU is, the most valuable question that a TPM asks is usually the one nobody else thought to ask,
Yes.
because you're able to connect dots. I was just watching Steve Jobs. Has a beautiful video on YouTube. We should literally do a talk just on that video, where he did the commencement speech for, I think it was Stanford, and where he talks about, like, I'm going to talk about 3 stories in my life, and the first story is just about connecting the dots, and that's it. And I think that's the number one thing that a TPM does. They're able to connect dots across so many different layers. That's the TPM superpower, being
So
able
now
to
here,
say,
I'm in the stand up. I connect the dot, like we
yes,
talked about right there. PCI.
yes,
You listen. You're like, what's going on with personal identifier?
yes,
Now, what does the TPM do after that? They catch it. What
beautiful.
do they do?
Beautiful, right? So there are 3 things that immediately happen, right? Once they've recognized, hey, I've now come up, there's a risk here. The first thing a good TPM is able to immediately do is, and we say this all the time, no surprises.
Yep.
Do not surprise me. So the first thing they want to be able to do is start communicating out. Before they start doing damage prevention, before they start doing, let me go call someone to get this fixed, let me go call someone to get a favor, and let me get ahead of the queue on the policy and privacy review so that we can get ahead and stick to the time. That's not the intention. The first thing a strong TPM will do is start communicating. This communication could be either in the form of emails, Teams messages, Slack, whatever is the most appropriate fit. You start spreading facts. Let the team know, hey, the team's on track. We recognize there may be an element of this. We need to start navigating how we bring our compliance team into this. There may be an impact on the schedule. We are still evaluating. Think of you like a reporter.
Yep.
When you found something, you're just reporting the facts. That's it. No personal bias.
Yep.
No, let me call my friend David who works in compliance and let me see if I can get ahead. Right. Now, from there, you've communicated, you want to make sure your stakeholders are informed that there may be a potential impact. The second thing that you start doing is you start tracking this,
Yep.
right? You start placing this either in a DevOps board or an Excel spreadsheet or a napkin. The TPMs that we deal with in most successful organizations, they're super methodical, super organized.
So what I've done now is I found something I know is a high priority OOPSA or potential pain gotcha. I'm going to keep as a TPM, I'm going to keep my eye on that bad boy all the way through the value stream.
That's it. And cut it across the value stream, right? Like you have multiple swim lanes. Now the engineers, I've seen people react to news in many different ways, in different roles. I've seen project and program managers say, let me talk to the business, let's put this on hold. Well, what is the engineer supposed to do then? Now I'm losing capacity, right? Not a good idea. Can I go and replace some other work and give them some other tickets or other stories or other tasks? A little better than the first one because I'm not losing capacity, but now I'm context switching, which
Yep.
scientifically is 7 times worse. So which one do I go with, right? Versus, hey, stay the course. This is still a priority. Stay the course. Let's try to stay on track. Let me navigate. How do we minimize the impact of the disruption, right? And then we navigate from there. In this one, as a matter of fact, what ended up happening is we were able to navigate, we were able to connect with the compliance team on fairly short notice. They were able to evaluate on fairly short notice.
Yep.
There was still an impact on the timeline, but it wasn't quite as drastic as the traditional 3-week lead time is when you deal with one of these shared services departments. That's what a typical morning might start as, right? And the
So
most
now
important,
let me talk about midday. Will this TPM be called into the CIO's office, or will this TPM be called into the director of IT's office? Tell me. All right, so now I got that. I'm working it. Now something else happens.
that's
What happens?
great, right, David? So morning, you're with your teams. Middays, most of the time, you will be responding and working directly with your stakeholders. In one way, shape, or form, you will be in the principal's office, essentially, right? Like you're
Okay.
going to have a conversation with
I want
either
to
a
hear that.
director, a leader. And what are the leaders really looking for, if you think
Yeah.
about this for a second? And this is where, again, the paradigm shift between what we inculcate as part of our TPM training course as well. The way communication has evolved and regressed at the same time in many cases is how we track the progress of the initiatives that we are dealing with. Right? And I
Okay.
give this example all the time. You've probably heard me say this before. If you were driving, David, from, let's say, Philadelphia to New York City, I know it's about 100 miles, right?
I'm
It's a
not doing that. I'm taking the train.
it's a bad idea, especially not when the Knicks are in town, right? So, like, if the Knicks are
Well,
playing
you're
a game,
doing it. Yeah, you're stuck doing it. Okay.
yeah, right. So let's say you're driving. Now, David, I'm on my way in the morning at 6:15. I start driving. At my ETA at the morning is 8:15. You call me at 7:20. They're like, hey, what's going on, buddy? Like, we on for this afternoon. Where are you? Like, how far are you? Like, how do you answer that question? Right? Because I've started a journey. I started at my origin and now my destination clearly defined. That's my vision. That's my end state. You call me somewhere in the middle and you ask me, hey, how's your drive going? Where are you? How do I answer that question? How
Well,
do I?
most likely I'm going to say based on that point in time, I just got over the bridge. No, that's too close. Wherever I might be, somewhere. I'm trying to think where I'd be. I'm in New Jersey somewhere.
Yes,
There
right.
you are.
You take a
I'm
marker.
like exit 7 at the turnpike.
Yes, you take a marker and you say, hey, I'm on this exit number at this road.
That's what I would do. Yes.
David, will someone ever answer you this by saying, I've used 27% of my gas? Right?
If someone did that, I would laugh. Oh, where are you at? Yeah, I've got 73% of my gas available.
Think about it.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, right. Good. Like, were you having that for breakfast or is that brunch? Right?
Drinking the gas?
Now imagine the conversation, the same thing that happens when you're called in and you're having a conversation with an IT executive or a business executive. When they're looking for an update on the program, they want to know, have you reached the bridge? They
Yes.
want to know, have you crossed exit 7 on the turnpike? You have to realize most of these execs, they've reached the executive status having gone through the rigors, so they know what are the right checkpoints. They have driven the same route multiple times. You got to give them credit and you got to talk to them at a
They
level.
know where the cops are. They know where the New Jersey troopers are.
There you go. So when somebody comes in and has the conversations with these stakeholders, executives, and they give them answers like, we are green, and we are green, we have used, 67 story points have been completed. or the first 4 sprints were
Don't ever
successful.
say that to me, my brother. I'd be like, I don't give a crap how many points you got.
That's it, right? So what is the
Like I say,
conversation?
oh, where's the AI for TPM outline? Oh, I've got 85 points burned, and yeah, whatever,
Can you believe it?
whatever.
That's right. Like, okay, am I getting it today?
Yeah.
Like, oh no,
What is
like
what is it? What have you built? What are your impediments? Tell me more about it. Yeah, where are you
absolutely.
at? Yes.
That's where you really want to be able to answer. So the best way is for you to have very crisp communication. I think the one function of a TPM is because they are able to see across the layers and connect the dots, they innately become very good communicators.
Okay.
And I see this a lot of times. I'll give you a good example of this. We have a team that's currently working on a build for a data lake, a
Mm-hmm.
consolidated data lake for a client of ours, right? And they have, I don't know, like 100 something different source systems. They want to bring all of this into Snowflake in a medallion architecture, and they want to land all this raw data in. And we have a very traditional Agile PM, and they came in a conversation very recently and they said, let me summarize this for everyone. They sent out a very lengthy email, which basically said, hey, we have all these sources that we will have. These sources are expected to be in our landing zone on this date. Now, if you've given me such preliminary surface level information, in most cases, an executive, a stakeholder, somebody who has skin in the game is going to ask and want for more. And your role as a TPM is to make sure you're communicating in a way that that want for more has been satisfied to the highest potential in your first communication.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're able to answer exactly what you said before, David, right? When you tell me, hey, I've crossed this marker, I'm about 20 minutes away,
Yeah.
I don't see traffic, I should be
Yeah.
there on time.
My Google light thing is blue right now, but you never know where I'm at right
There
now.
you go. Right now, if you communicate this way, and now this is the perfect analogy for this in my mind, at least, right? When David calls me, he's like, hey, I'm in New York waiting for you. Where are you at? Hey, I'm by the bridge.
Yeah.
ETA on my app says 8:04, but I haven't hit the tunnel yet.
Yeah.
And the
And I'm
tunnel
like,
around this time can generally be dicey. So that's my
I don't
risk.
trust so I don't trust the app. So I'm going to bypass the app by giving you a little bit of analysis. So that's even better. Like the TPM
Yes.
should be able to bypass some of the project specs and say, like, based on everything I know what's going on, some of the crap all over here, this
Yes.
is some issues. So you might see it here instead of there.
Yes. Yes. Right. And now, if you've gone through that, generally the stakeholder, they might still have questions, as they should, right? They have an invested interest in making sure that there is a level of success that gets achieved. But at the same time, you've probably answered the first 16 questions that they would have asked if you just told them 63% of my gas is done.
Yeah.
Like my tank is a quarter full now, right? Like that's not going to help. So,
Oh my God, it's such a great. It's all right. So in the middle of the day, I'm meeting with stakeholders. I'm
yes,
answering questions about project status. I'm
yes,
talking about some key things that are going on. I'm listening for some new tells about where things might happen. I skipped lunch because I can't get lunch. I took a vending machine lunch. I had
that's
a
it.
soda and I had a little Kit Kat bar or something.
That's all.
All right. So now in the afternoon, what's going on?
So, two things that generally will happen. One is you start managing your external dependencies. So, in your role as a TPM, because you have to cut across multiple layers, you're primarily associated with your prime team, your core team members in the morning. And then, as long as you are actively doing your job right in the morning, you will on a daily basis realize you need at least 1 to 2 touch points with external partners. So, like an example that we just talked about, where we had to go and talk to the compliance team. And
Yep.
then immediately, what you don't want to do, and we've seen some of this done by some executives, some leaders, and this is another piece that as a TPM you start realizing you should be comfortable being able to say no to your executives and your stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to gain more trust by letting them know, hey, this is not a good idea. Let me navigate this. So I'll give you a good example of this, right? In the same example that we just talked through, in our sync with the leader, the stakeholder, somewhere around midday, the question was, hey, let me call this person in compliance and they should prioritize you. And we actually took a step back and we're like, no, 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 like let us navigate. Because the moment a stakeholder picks up the phone and calls somebody at the worker level, it looks like it's an escalation.
Yeah.
And generally, the response that you get on in terms of an escalation is there panic.
Yeah.
There is a fear. There is defensiveness. We don't want any of that, right? We need to be able to curtail all of that by being able to say, hey, we have this is coming. Let's have a quick 15-minute touch point. So a lot of the time in the afternoon is spent around making sure your core team has received all the information, all the feedback that was brought up today that needed external touch points. And that's important. Some of this could be pre-scheduled. And this is something that we tend to do quite a bit in larger programs. When you have larger programs, you don't have the luxury of being able to say, hey, David, can you spare 5 minutes right now?
Yeah.
David already has a calendar that is like 80 meetings deep in a 40-hour work week. So if you're very lucky, David's going to say, oh, yeah, okay, I'm in a call right now. Give me a few minutes. I'll call you
Yep.
back, something like that. You can't operate in a scalable, in a consistent, in a sustainable manner like that.
Yep.
So figure out what those key touch points are, get them on the books, put them in a right set of cadence,
Yep.
enough frequency so that you're able to make sure you have enough impact. Good
Mhm.
example of this, right? We just saw this in one of the largest e-retailer companies. We just experienced this. Somebody went out from the marketing team and they announced, hey, we have this beautiful new product that's being launched, and gave out a date in the market.
Yep.
Right, moment that date came out, now the engineering team, they haven't even scoped out the work for this,
Yeah.
let
So
alone,
they're freaking out.
there is a lot of panic there,
Yep.
right? The leaders in the engineering division are like, hey, how did you have this communication without us being on the exact same page?
Yep.
Obviously, the marketing team is like, oh, the sales team has already made commitments to our clients, and now we need to go and meet this date. And now we were using this as the momentum. So there is a convoluted but very well interconnected ecosystem of how these decisions and communication patterns exist.
Yep.
So what do you do with that? Right? You start having conversations, you start navigating the intricacies and the interdependencies. Suddenly, it's not engineering versus marketing. It's one team.
Yeah.
It's
And
one team.
ultimately, you're trying to get across is we want to get this customers. We want our customers satisfied. We know there's a Kanban call that can sell this, so we need to service it. And how do you reprioritize work in order to meet a date that was sent out there? Now, the argument's going to be, well, that should have never happened. Well, the reality is it did happen, and it's not about control; it's about the customer.
That's it. That's it, David. And how many times have we all seen this, right? Like, and something happens, the first thing someone asks, we talked about this in our entire agile transformation journey, the
Yeah.
blameless culture
Yeah.
mindset, right? When something happens, like, oh, this should have never happened. Well, now it has happened, right?
It happened. I was just coaching someone today, and I kept trying to tell them, I don't care about the past. What are you doing to attack it? That's what I care about.
That's it.
That's what you're
Well,
communicating.
my path forward.
Okay, it happened already.
I mean, how many times have
That's for critics, and that's for people who write stories about other people's stories.
That's it. We have outages for companies that are running stuff on S3 buckets, which has a 99.69s in terms of service availability. And we still have outages, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. It happens. We get it. The most important thing that I always say this, especially in your role as a TPM, as the day goes on, especially in the afternoon.
Okay, so now we're hitting the afternoon, later in the afternoon. Okay, what's going on?
By that time, it's the second half of the day. Folks are already, down from that sugar rush of the Kit Kat. It started to dissolve. Now you're like getting ready to get back from New York to Philly.
Yep.
Right? So most cross-team conflict isn't disagreement. It's two correct people talking past each other.
Okay, interesting. So you're going to get this stuff in the afternoon.
That's it. And now this is where you are now trying to utilize the science of time. Right? By that time in the day, people are not on that adrenaline rush, bright and fresh in the morning. You're almost 3 times more likely to get buy-in by just strategically placing the meetings at the right times. Right? There's actual science behind this.
That's interesting. Okay,
right?
So TPMs understand that in complex work environments, if you want to make things happen, sometimes you have to time it appropriately.
That's right. That's right. So if you think about it, right, you're coming in bright and early, folks are, super excited. And now that's the time where you want to do your creative discussions. You want to do your design discussions. You want to talk about your roadmaps. You want to talk about building out what a Venn diagram might look like, what my scheduling might look like.
Okay, this is cool. I like this.
Key decisions, you're much better off where you are evaluating a couple of options or evaluating risk. You're better off when you're in that zone. You've already knocked enough balls that you're sweetly timing the ball. Now you're like, all right, you know what? I'm in my groove. Let me make some decisions. I can feel the beat.
So
I'm
that
maybe
around 12, 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock,
Okay.
somewhere there, right? Like folks are able to come in, they're already grooving.
You're in the flow, as Daniel
You're
Kahneman would
in
say.
the flow.
Feeling good. And all right, I can make a decision here. I got some confidence. I'll make a decision there. So I'm, as a TPM, I'm looking for my decisions between 11:30 and 2.
That's it, right?
Okay,
You want to
great.
target, you want to target that. You want to target that sweet spot, right? And from there, again, green,
Now I'm
green,
walking into the afternoon. It's a bunch of arguments.
there's a bunch of things that are happening, right? Because now what generally will happen is folks have started to realize certain things have started to go through. And then there is a general realization of a critical path item that maybe no one has owned. You have the orphan critical path item, right?
Somebody found something.
Yes. Right. So think about it, right? Like a migration with a dozen dependent teams, everyone's busy tracking their own piece, similar to, and I give this example a lot, right? And you and I have chatted about this, the release train engineer role. You remember that from the Scaled Agile?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. And this,
Woo! I used to always think about a train engineer when the RTE was talked about.
That's it, right? This is the most dangerous status in our world, right? Like where 4 people who are tracking, individual scrum masters or PMs in their streams are tracking, and they're all reporting green, 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 green. But no one is really coordinating and making sure that we don't have a massive disaster where 4 trains that were supposed to reach at the same place are in 4 different places, right? Or 2 made it, the other 3 didn't. Or
Yep.
how do you map out that critical path end to end, handoff between the 2 teams, ownership? And then what we realize is in the afternoons, you're typically going back and tracking. You're making sure, hey, there was a plan. We had a conversation about this plan this morning. There is this unglamorous core of the role, right?
Yep.
This is the sausage factory behind the scenes, right?
Yep.
That's the afternoon where you're hands-on. Hey, let's make sure we all have the right ownership, what we assume the right owner to be.
Yep.
We have
Remember
an
we
owner.
talked about this as we're going through. Hey, I might see some misalignment over here. We got to slow this down over there.
Yes.
Hey, okay, and you're starting to I would call that orchestration too. Making the sausage, orchestrating.
Love that word. Love that word. You're the conductor. You're the orchestrator. That's it. That's it. So the takeaway again on that, right? Green, 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 but we're still behind schedule.
Yeah, what's going on?
You got to look between the boxes.
Yes.
You got to look past the traffic light signal reporting. This is where TPMs hunt, right? Because they can connect dots, right? Now you're in the second half. You're coming to the peak end of the day, right? Like you're now winding down. You're starting to think about and some days the whole job feels like it's been.
What am I going to watch on streaming? Am I going to pick up dinner? Am I going to hit McDonald's?
What am I doing?
Am I going to cook something at home? And what am I streaming?
You think about the end of the day, and this is where I think the most effective TPMs are very, very good. They start the day with the team, they end the day with the team.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right. And this is something that I've noticed. There were some very, very strong scrum masters, David, that I worked with who would do this. They would start with a daily stand and then they would end the day with the daily stand down.
Bookend the stands. That's interesting.
Yeah. Right. And then really the idea was making sure, hey, is there anything that you need me to attack like first thing in the morning? Just so that subconsciously you're training yourself so that you can actually be ready for the next morning. So you're almost priming yourself up for the next day, right? And that's where what we've seen, like some really high performing TPMs actually go through this. So that's basically the day. It's no single moment.
Man, look at that. And we did it within the time box as well.
I love it.
Let's finish off by talking about the triangle. We talked about what a TPM is, but in that day, you referenced multiple skill sets. So what is the triangle of skills when they take the CPTM, when they take the Certified Technical Program Management class? The triangle skills are?
Technology. That's the foundation. Technology, right? Program management. And agility. That's it. You go through these 3 layers. You have these 3 layers, your technology background, your depth of system design. I think with the context of this, I think it's also a good time, David, for us to announce we have our TPM AI certification bootcamp launching end of this month. We have the content, we have the outline.
Yep.
I'm really
a lot of conversation about that.
This is going to be amazing.
TPMs are at the forefront of AI, especially within enterprise organizations to make it happen.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Love it. Thank you so much, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see you.